Hey, everybody. Welcome and thanks for joining us again for another episode of What Ontario Landlords Need to Know. This is your September episode. So here we are, the end of the month of 2025, September. And as always, I'm joined by two awesome people. I have Kayla Andrade from Front Lobby and Ontario Landlords Watch. Kayla, say hi.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for having me on.
And of course, we have Mr. Robert Lisi from Stonegate Legal Services. Say
Hey
hi.
everyone, thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, no, like not having us on. We are the three amigos that get to talk about this all the time, right? We are the ones. I know that I guess I'm the host and it goes through our YouTube channel, but you guys are definitely the star of the show. So thanks so much for always supplying your wisdom and knowledge with everybody out there. Today, I think the couple topics that we're going to touch on are what's happening right now throughout the entire province and really the country. We have tent encampments everywhere, and that's becoming an even larger issue, which brings us back to affordable housing and what the government is telling us they're going to do and how they're going to fix that. And then lastly, or maybe not lastly, there might be other topics that come up, but we're also going to touch on the decline in international students because as landlords, they're great to come in and fill a spot for a couple of years, right? Until they return home while they're in school. Anyways,
Where do you want to
let's talk
start?
about tent encampments. Let's start there. Let's start with
Everyone get a
the
drink
camper.
ready. Like everyone get their drinks for this September.
Just Coca Cola. But tents, they're everywhere, right? I can't tell you how many times I see them. I was actually in a place the other day where I thought this would be a great spot for someone to live underneath a bridge where they would have been protected and stuff like that from all the elements. But how do we fix this? How do we get rid of them? And obviously, it's an affordable housing issue, but we got to stop them. Evictions and stuff. What do you guys think?
Well, you know what? I think it was perfect timing because we just had a council meeting at the city of Cambridge, and it was for a motion. Um, belonged to two councillors who voted for the water billing, like against the water billing, by the way. These very same councillors who said, hey, we're going to have like water billing. We could try to remove landlords from being responsible for that, save tenants from being evicted for water billing, but they voted against that. I just want to put that out there. They came up with a motion trying to get staff to create a report looking at avoiding evicting people from the encampments through extreme weather. So I put my submission in. I did not get to speak to it. I thought I had some things to do, and luckily, the council that was there was able to vote that motion down. And a lot of people who spoke to that motion was nonprofit organizations. And that's what I found very odd, that we have nonprofit organizations really trying to keep people inside of their unit, inside of the tent through extreme weather. Like we're talking like heat, guys. We're talking like cold weather. Like, why would anybody want to keep people inside of a tent instead of forcing them to go into shelter, which our mayor clearly stated that there is room for shelter either at the hotels or the local Cambridge shelter. So to have nonprofits kind of come out and say that they wanted council to support this motion was very, very shocking to me. And a part of me started thinking like, I kind of get it, because if they know where their clients are and they need to have clients in order to ask the government for more money, right? So you got to follow the money, guys, when it comes down to crises like this. And this is why we always come to you with different solutions, because we're the private landlords. We're not asking you to build it. We're not asking you to manage it. We're not asking you to maintain it. But we do want to make sure that these tenants that are going into our units that can be subsidized to keep them housed. Because I can tell you right now, the Region of Waterloo, $65.5 million being spent on the homelessness in the Waterloo region. Now take that, put it into $2,000 a month times 12 months. How many people do you think you could pay the rent for the entire year? Just over 2,700
Millions.
people? Just do the
Yeah.
math, guys. You said that one. I'm like educating you guys for the first time. You're like, damn, we didn't know Kayla was coming with us today.
I'm still trying to get over the 65 million.
Yeah. And that's like, okay, now we got to dive deeper. Is that the cleanup? Is it the hotels? Is it like rent subsidies? Like exactly from the overall like amount of money that, and again, the salaries of all these people who are trying to manage and police the homelessness in our city, right? So again, it comes down to like everyone spending more money trying to put a band-aid on the housing crisis instead of like it's like a band-aid on a bullet wound right now. We really need to sit back. We need to look at all aspects of housing, including the way that government manages their own housing, and also the way that we deal with partnerships with nonprofits and private developers. I think it's all connected together, and I think we're starting to go down this very deep rabbit hole, and we'll get it to the next topic when we talk about affordable housing.
Well, that brings us right into it, right? The affordable housing comment, at least my awareness of all this when this started, was 2017 in the spring when Kathleen Wynne said that this was going to change everything and it was going to happen.
Mm.
Well, that was 2017, and the first place started filling tenants earlier this year. So it took all that time to get it built, to get the permits, to get the land, etc. Blah 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 blah. And affordable housing, the actual way that works for a building, it's only going to be 33% of the apartment. So if you have 100 units, only 33 of them need to be affordable housing. And what deems it affordable housing? The criteria is simple: 20% below market value. That's it. So instead of $3,000, right, they're paying 24.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only difference there. And I still don't see how that's going to fix everything, only having 33% of these buildings going on. And again, it's years and years and years to get us to where we need to be. Um, I think anyways, we can't fix things. And they just try to, the way the government talks about it is they make it sound so simple and so
Yeah.
easy and that they're going to do it instead of realizing this is a bigger issue than what it is. You said it the best with putting a band aid on a bullet wound. That's really what it is. It's not the right solution.
Rob's over there nodding. What do you what
Yeah.
can you say, Mr. Paralegal?
That's the problem. I don't know what else to say. I don't really evict.
What about the landlord
Um,
hat?
yeah, as a landlord, this whole affordable housing thing doesn't make sense. I'm going to just give you my input. I think another problem is that these cities keep raising their taxes, the property taxes, the utilities are going up,
Mm.
everything's going up. So, how do you make it affordable? Like for anyone, never mind the small landlord, big landlord, anyone.
Oh yeah, they'll say right now, oh, if you're affected by the tariffs, like let us know. We'll like delay your property taxes. It's like, oh wow, thank you. Like really enjoy that part of it. But I guess it's again the mismanagement of your city. It's where you're spending your taxpayer dollars. You're gonna have people that are coming to them and saying, hey, I want you to donate to our organization. It's doing this for the community. That's great. But then we have other municipalities they create there was a door to their institution. It was $1 million, like they're spending $1 million on a door. So like, and then we wonder like how we have to hold these people accountable, because when the budget time comes, it's so much and it's so overwhelming. And that's the part where we have this property tax group in on Facebook. They obviously specialize in Cambridge, but they break it down for us to really say, hey, this is what's going on in our city, because we need to hold these people accountable. They just think that they have this big, wide wallet and they can just spend how they want. We're at a time where we need to spend what we need, not what we want. Right. And I think that's where we're not getting the right counselors and the right elected officials in place.
Hail up for NPP.
My husband will divorce me if I ran for politics. But I could be an assistant. Maybe. I don't know. Let's
An advisor, just someone that shares what they need to hear.
Well, you know what? Like and this is where like I posted it on my Facebook, and you can follow me guys if you're on there. It's City of Hamilton had came out with their post talking about today was the groundbreaking of 124 units, and they have invested $60 million. And this is going to give them 40 deeply affordable units, 10 supportive units, and 74 market rent units. So we're looking at approximately 483,870 $6.97 per unit. And to make the best of it, because people are obviously sharing this like crazy, it's on the City of Hamilton website. And it says that it's for the building will meet the LEED gold energy efficiency standards, featuring EV charging stations, solar panels, and geothermal heating and cooling.
I like the geothermal heating and cooling. I think that's something that every building should be doing. It definitely.
Fact remains is that we need to get people off the streets, people. Like we have tent encampments going on as the new form of housing. We have tent encampments that can't be removed because of court order. And then we have people living in shipping containers and having to leave their shipping container to go into a central kind of like community hub. And we're going to put geothermal what? Nah, now is not the time, guys. Don't get me started.
I have a question. Since this is a forum, what do you think the solution is?
Oh, it's multifaceted. Like, you need to get the right players. You got to get the right players at the table. You got to get the stakeholders, the landlords, the big, the small, the ugly. I don't care which ones that are providing housing, including the nonprofits. They got to come together with our elected officials, the Minister of Housing, the associate to the Minister of Housing, the Attorney General, his associate to the Attorney General. We have to get the Minister of Social Services, because we have people being given taxpayer dollars either through OW or ODSP. It can be directed to the landlord, and it could also be pulled back from being directed to the landlord.
That's it right there. If you're getting assistance for housing, that's what it has to be used for, right? That makes landlords protected and stuff like that as well. But just like you said, we can ask for them to give it to us, but as soon as the recipient says no, send it to me, that's what happens, right? We just went through this on one of our properties. We were getting it for over a year. She said no, and now we're dealing with a whole bunch of problems. And we can't get that. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Why are we using taxpayer dollars to help people that need it for housing? Let them use it for something that isn't housing. I don't care if it's alcohol, drugs, gambling, food. It should be used for housing. That's simple.
And it ties to the landlord. You can probably, it's almost like Section 8 in the States, you know, it's like you're signing up, you're validating that I'm a landlord. I am, like, you can take people on this as or not, but I am a valid landlord. The government pays a portion of the rent to you. The tenant's supposed to pay their portion, which is very little. But if the tenants refuse to pay their section, they get banned from the program for like 10 years, right? Like, we need to be putting accountability in there, because again, like what we see with these tent encampments, if you just keep letting the little encampments grow, you now have a huge city. And again, a lot of these people, they have the ability to go into homes. They got, or not quite homes, but shelters, or, you know, for hotels. But at the same time, they don't want to, because there's rules that need to be followed. They can't be doing their drugs. They can't be doing crime. So a lot of this has to come into being very heavy on consequences. And yes, it's not going to look pretty to the average person with the sympathy and the empathy. But in order to correct this issue that we have here, it's got to be tough love. Right. And again, like, a lot of this stuff is not just a housing. This is a lot of mental health. This is about addiction. Like, you need to bring that minister to this table, because we need to start introducing mandatory mental health clinics, hospitals, like back in the day. Like, there was one in London, you know, people had to be forced into treatment. Their brain is sick. How can you expect these people with a sick brain, but how do you expect them to make their own decisions to themselves, right? So it's up to us to help them. And we're not trying to be that greedy landlord kicking everybody out, but we're not social workers, and we need to make sure that we have our resources available to help these people who are struggling before you think that you can throw them into a private landlord's home and think it's going to be successful.
Even with just all the hotel stuff, the government is paying the hotels more money than they should. And the reason I say that, even, no,
keep going.
My daughter plays rep softball, which means we have to travel, and that was our summer vacations, is watching 13-year-old girls play softball. Anyway, so we were out in Barrie. Our whole team had a reservation at a hotel. 1 week before we were going to the tournament, they called us and said, sorry, we now have to give your block of rooms to house somebody that the government's bringing in. So the only reason they would have gotten rid of us is for more money that quick. That's the only reason. There's no other way they're sending us out and bringing in somebody else if they weren't making more money than we were already paying. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only reason I can see them doing it, and that's problem one right now. They're spending more money to, again, hotels and everything like that that they shouldn't be. Right? If you're gonna minimize what that expense is, it doesn't need to be over and about. That's all.
You had it right on the nose. I talked to some people. I don't say who I talk to, but they have people who have properties, hotels in Niagara. They obviously are rented out to the government to put asylum seekers. And normally he said, hey, your room prices are like crazy. Like, what's going on? So what they do is that they have to jack their rates because it's going to be guaranteed money from the federal government, and then they have to jack it for the regular people, because how can you offer rental, like a hotel rental, for less than what you're billing the government, right? I
Yeah.
know that program is supposed to be coming to an end where they're not going to be paying for the asylum seekers. I think it's just going to get rebranded into something or a benefit of some sort to keep them between being housed. But even the motels and the hotels, like, they're definitely living it up, and I think we might have to start looking at investing into hotels these days, where it's backed by the government. But again, I think a lot of them are starting to they were backing away because there was a lot of fires that were happening, and the violence and the drugs that it was costing them to be a part of that program. So some people have stepped away from it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I don't want to go into that any further.
This is getting political. That's the problem.
It has to be. Like, you have to get political. You're going to obviously upset some elected officials, especially from NDP or the Liberals, or you're going to get nonprofit organizations that are upset because they just think that housing is a human right. And we keep talking about housing being a human right. We want that to happen, but is housing a human right, or is shelter a human right? A housing in itself, like, that's responsibility. That's a privilege to have your own house, and it sucks, but people need to know that they have to work for something. Trying to teach this generation of our children to make sure that they understand, like, you have to work, you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your utilities, you have to put food on the table before you go and buy Justin Bieber tickets. Like,
Yep.
we kind of lost that, right? It sucks that we have to be the hard ass to be able to tell everybody, like, this is where it is from political landscape, and how it looks bad on them if they try to make any type of changes that could impact their party and or them getting elected back in.
It's numbers, right? Like you said, a lot of tenants out there are voters, and that's who they're trying to appease, right? To keep different things that way. Um,
Gotta love
but
it.
there's what, 40 million Canadians out there, right? How do people really do what's right for all of us? I know that that's impossible, but at the same time, I think they have to try to do a better job of making things look and just put across the board, and not just trying to bring up um, the lower end, I guess.
Well, it's almost
Sadly,
like the
so
crime. Sorry, Rob, you go.
No, no, go ahead. Go
I was
ahead.
just mentioning, like, the crime that everyone's talking about, and how we have this, no, everyone just gets bail, and the criminals are getting out, and they repeat, and they take off into other countries. And you look at the economy and what's happening, like, you start to know your economy is going bad, really bad, when you see an increase in crime, right? And that's what's happening in these encampments. A lot of people are stripping copper, they're going after fiber optics and properties, and causing a lot of damage. And then, instead of people blaming the people who are stealing this metal and bringing it to the scrapyard and get money for it, they want to blame the recycling company for allowing people to come there and buy the recycling. Like, I did not read that. You got to be kidding me, right? So a lot of it has to be, the left leaning and the right, and you got to come in there trying to be peaceful, but understand that this is going to be like, it's a tough love, pull off the band-aid. It's going to be hard at first, but you need to make sure that all these processes are changed all at the same time, and you're putting the consequences in place. Just like as we ask for faster evictions, tenants need to know that there is going to be a faster eviction if you decide to take your money and spend it on drugs versus spending on the rent. And anyone who is struggling, don't worry, we have some rent relief programs to help you. through those type of challenging times. Because I deep down, like, I think overall, I think if we had just an overall portable housing program that landlords can validate that the tenants didn't need it so that it doesn't result into abuse and the landlords are obviously fully responsible for it. I think that would save a lot of these problems that we're seeing now and literally trying to be proactive to the crisis that we're living in, because $65.5 million, and that's just the region of Waterloo. And if you look at how many people that are on OW and ODSP, Google it. Put it in the chat. Put it in this video. How many people are on social assistance?
A lot, because they can take advantage of it and they still do other things as well. And there's no accountability to see what they're actually doing, I think, as well.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's accountability to these different things.
But I want to switch it up. Can I switch it up, Kevin? Because we got Rob,
Okay.
we got Rob here. I know you're the host. So Rob, I had a friend of mine. They had their friend, and they had a case conference today.
ACC.
Yeah, can you tell people like what a case conference is? Why would because obviously it's a tenant application being brought against the landlord. Why would a case conference hearing be scheduled versus a downright hearing?
This is a great question. You know what? I'm glad that you brought this up. So ACC is what it's called. And what it is an adjudicator that meets with the tenant and the landlord to see if they can come up with a quicker resolution before it actually goes to a hearing. The advantage is that there's not hundreds of people or 80 people on a hearing block. It's one-on-one with the adjudicator. And if they can work something out, then it will be on consent. If not, believe it or not, it still goes to a hearing.
How long do they have to wait for a hearing after they realize it wasn't working out?
After an ACC,
Yeah.
You're looking at probably another couple of months.
Oh,
Wow.
everyone get your drink ready.
And again, this is the landlord-tenant. Like, I'll just tell you, we had a case today that has been adjourned 2 times. The tenant owes $18,000. He has no ability to pay. He's testified that he can't pay, but he's bringing up something called Section 82 issues. The board ran out of time and they wanted to adjourn it. And it's a prejudice to the landlord because the tenant testified that he does not have the ability to pay. And the board or the adjudicators allowing the tenant to stay. So if you guys are looking for justice, there is no justice. So in regards to an ACC, I think ACCs are a good tool if you can narrow down what you're there to talk about. But the rules still apply. So it's like a hearing before a hearing. So is it necessary? No.
Could we utilize that format, but use it within the portal where an adjudicator would send out a message to both parties and said, hey, like blah, 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 blah. No, okay, we're going into a hearing.
But that's already in the portal. You can actually work something out through the portal.
Oh, but the tenants don't reply back to the portal.
That's the problem.
So maybe there might be a mandatory that you have to reply back within 14 days. If not, you get an automatic judgment. Am I asking for that?
Oh, you would. Remember, we're
Christmas
dealing
is coming.
Yeah, you're dealing with an Ontario tribunal. Remember, the tenant is the weaker party. Therefore, they get more leniency. And just on a side note, guys, I know we talked about this before. October 1st, there's some changes coming. And that is the jurisdiction of the $35,000 is actually going up to $50,000.
Based on
Now, that might sound good, but if you still can't collect it, it doesn't matter what the jurisdiction
Well,
is.
no, the only reason why they're doing it now because they know we're waiting so long that the rents have accumulated to that amount, and that's why they're making it in that jurisdiction of the landlord and tenant board. Now, again, like with Bill 97 that came in play, that was really about the N13, and this is something that we're all fighting with the rent eviction ban that all the cities are starting to do. Kitchener, Ottawa, obviously Toronto, Hamilton. Like, it's a moneymaker for them, just like the speed cameras. Don't get me started. Now, with that N13, and trying to say we have Bill 97, they put in heftier fines for landlords, and that was between 50 to 100 for an individual and 250 to 500 for a corporation. And we're talking 250,000 to $500,000, guys. Very hefty fines. The landlord also, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, that you have to get a contractor to validate that the property needs to be vacant in order for them to do the repair. That needs to be included now with your N13 when you bring it to the landlord and tenant board. But we still have municipal governments trying to introduce a policy or a bylaw that makes you have to give the city X amount of dollars and go through providing moving expenses, accommodations, like anything to do is to prevent the landlord from completing any necessary renovations. And then you have Mayor Olivia Chow saying, we're going to come in and we're going to fix it and we're going to charge the landlord. And it's like, whoa, you introduced this and now you're going to come in. And we know how much it cost for someone to do repairs and renovations when it's on the taxpayer dollars versus dealing with a private investor. Now, again, when you deal with the N13, do you know, Rob, if that has now transferred over to the landlord and tenant board where a tenant, if they were evicted for bad faith, is it 1 year or 2 years now based on the N13?
It's now 2 years.
There you go. So, like, the process has been put in place, guys. And this is our call to action for every landlord listening to this podcast right now to contact the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Was it Rob Flack? Is it Flack now? They changed so much. I can't even. And Grayson, I think it's Grayson for the associate to the Minister of Housing. Contact them and tell them that their municipalities are doing this type of bylaw that really impacts your ability to provide safe and affordable housing to your tenants. And at the same time, email the elected officials at the same time, because there's a lot of cities that are doing this and I can barely keep up. I'm only one person. So if you guys can help me out and do some letter writing, just tell them what's happening, that the process is already in the provincial government and that municipalities need to stay in their own lane and stay in their own jurisdiction.
No, like you said, it's a tax. That's what it is. Yeah. And it's $700, just so you know.
They need money. They're hurting. We're hurting. They're hurting. Everyone's hurting.
Let's give the money away.
Give it! Free. No, it sucks. You see money being like crazily spent, and it's just like you have, and it's hard to pay attention because you're busy doing life. But hey, guys, reminder, your rent increases. Remember, we had a ban and we couldn't do it. So January 1st is the rent increase month. It's very little with 2.1%, but get your applications ready and delivered to your tenants. Because Rob, how many days?
Before the end of the month. So it's 90-day notice.
Yep. Any day now.
Yeah.
Got to get those out.
I seen someone post it. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like,
and if I may, if you're going to mail it, remember you have to add 5 days for mailing. So what are we today? We are the 24th. You really have until tomorrow or Friday.
And we got to get this video out right away so we can remind people.
Oh, actually, let's talk about that too, because this came up the other day, Rob, when we were talking about everything else. Email consent, right? We all know that on the Ontario Standard lease, it now says that you can check a box and put your email address on there to say that you are going to consent to email communication for forms and notices. They have to check that box and put their email on the OSL. But as we've talked about before, they can still say, oh, I initialed and signed so many things when I was doing that lease. I didn't realize that was on there. So in our company now, we've gone around and we've sent out to every landlord and every tenant an actual email consent form where it's a single form that the tenant and the landlord both sign, both agree to email consent. And then when we were talking the other day, you were saying that still might not be enough because they could still fight that as well.
Let me explain. There's a 3-part test or rule that you can count on. Number 1, it must be in writing. So the OSL could be argued that it is in writing. Number two, even if you send it by email, the tenant must acknowledge the email, not a read receipt. They must say, Kevin, I received it, or they write back to you in the same thread. And number three is that at any time, they can withdraw from consent of email. Those are the three things. So if you're going to rely on email, you got to be very sure that the tenant has acknowledged it. If not, you go back to the trusted way, which is, believe it or not, regular mail. And that's on your certificate of service, just so you know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say email on the certificate of service.
I seen a hearing where I think one of the landlords, I think it was a landlord, he sent his N4 application to the tenant by email. And so
His notice?
the notice.
Okay.
And the adjudicator asked him if he had the consent, in which he said, yeah, in the standard order. But on consent by email, it clearly states that you can't be sending your notices of hearing to the tenants by consent by email. It's only communications, the 24-hour entry notices, the rent increases. Have you seen anything like that? Like, or is it just like a newbie adjudicator?
Well, yeah. So there's one thing that I'm confused about, because usually the adjudicator, let's say, for example, the tenant doesn't show up. The problem is that a lot of adjudicators are asking landlords at a hearing that, did you inform your tenant that there was a hearing today if the tenant doesn't show up? Mm-hmm. So they are allowing the landlord to notify the tenant by email. So even though notices, even going to the board, would be a reminder of letting the tenant know there's going to be a hearing. Mm-hmm. Because the first question they ask if the tenant doesn't show up, did you remind the tenant that there was a hearing today?
You're like, yeah, so they dropped off groceries for them and babysat their children at the same time.
Remember, the weaker party is the tenant.
Because
the weaker party with more power.
And I've always had like the knowledge, because everyone would talk about, we have obviously on paid rent, we got damages that happen when the tenants have vacated. And they always said that in order to serve the tenants by email, you got to get permission from the landlord and tenant board in order to validate why you thought that they were going to be able to use that alternative method of serving.
That I've never heard. No.
Look it up. Alternative method is like asking for permission in order to serve them by email. I think it was around the L10 application portion of it all.
Okay, so because on the L10, remember, you have to serve them. The thing is that email is still not an acceptable form of service. So again, going to the certificate of service, if you look at the certificate of service, it does not say email. And on an L10, if they're no longer in the property, how do you serve them?
And then that's when we ask for permission from the landlord and tenant board, get permission, and you serve.
You can ask, but I don't think you're going to get it.
I don't know why they would ask it. Like, allow us is like, have the form on their alternative method of serving the tenant, knowing that they've signed the consent by email form.
You already know the answer, Kayla. You already know the answer. We're dealing with an Ontario tribunal.
I know. That's why I needed you to say it.
Can I say something else? If you look at most of the notices at the bottom part, Kevin, you know this because you deal with this a lot, that still says LSUC for Law Society of Upper Canada.
No.
Does the Law Society of Upper Canada exist anymore?
You know it.
It's the Law Society of Ontario.
Well.
So these are forms that are coming from the government.
Yeah.
How about this? On the Ontario Standard Lease, it says that the tenant's supposed to have liability insurance. That's incorrect. All that they should be getting is content insurance. They're not responsible for getting liability insurance. You cannot double dip on liability.
And it's
even though the insurance.
And on the Standard Lease is saying liability, but
it says liability.
And they still have this available.
It's on every Ontario Standard Lease. And if you look at the Residential Tenancies Act, which is the RTA, nowhere in the act does it say that a tenant is supposed to get. Yeah, you're laughing.
No, I'm laughing because I eat and breathe this stuff, and you're even teaching me some stuff right now.
Sense. It doesn't make sense. So when you ask the question, why, what if you said something once the other time? You can't make the people that cause the problem fix the problem.
You can't expect the same mindset that created the problem to fix it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's you just said there we have a little bit of a shortage in qualified tenants looking for places. And one of the things that we were discussing earlier is the shortage of international students coming over right now, right?
Yeah.
Um, International students are the best kind of students, if you ask me, to have. If their parents are paying a lot of money for them to come across the world to go to school, and most of those cultures, they'll get their butts kicked if they step anything out of line. I've had many go through it, and most of them, they want to, like in a condo, they want to make sure there's concierge for safety and stuff like that, and they'll pay a little bit of a premium to make sure that their kids are safe because they're sending them to the other side of the world. But now, the shortage. So that could be part of it. I don't know why, but
You're talking about legitimate students, right?
You go, Rob.
Because I'm just saying that a lot of them come here claiming that they're students and then they stay. And this is another problem that we're having.
I got stats. Right here,
Oh,
guys.
wow.
So
There
this
you
is a
go.
big
Look,
story
read 'em
that's
off.
happening right now. Conestoga, they're famous for the mass student immigration to Conestoga College. They are now bracing for a crash themselves because what had happened, obviously the government caught on to, these colleges / private taking on people and literally poaching them to say, hey, come here, have study here. So we'll give you some stats on from 2021 for the permanent. We got permits for new students arriving abroad, and then we have permits extended for visa students already here. So you can kind of see like the yellow is obviously for abroad, because right now in 2023, so you're looking at for abroad, for 2021, it was 8,815. For 2022 was 6,700. And the comparable to the people who are permits extending for visa students already here, that was 1,330. And the 2022 was 1,980. And in 2023 for abroad students was 17,600 students abroad, with the permits extended for visa students already here was only 2,660. And now let's go into 2024. They did for abroad 4,815, with the students here was 4,840. So they started kind of making it even. And now this year, we're going to see the abroad students coming in only at 540, with people here 3,990. So now again, this is like why we're now offering layoff packages to the colleges, the employees, because that in itself has really impacted our housing. And we're just starting to see a lot of opportunities now for the tenants, and we're going to see because it got really populated with people starting renting out their rooms, and we might be able to see something with the long-term tenancies coming back because they cooled the immigration of our students, because you were able to put something in place to understand that it was your colleges and your universities taking advantage of a system, in my opinion, personally.
Yep. And it's a valid opinion.
I know normally when we do these guys, we have a nice, long, lengthy conversation, but Rob mentioned earlier that he does have to take off today. So let's say what we got to do to wrap this one up to make sure that we can get everybody the information that they need, get to where we need to go, and then we'll see everybody again next month.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this, Kevin. Anyone can find me on Facebook. Always, we don't really get to have the opportunity. I want to make sure everyone's signed up with frontlobby.com, and in order to do your credit checks and to make sure that you're reporting your tenants on time and late payments to the credit bureaus through frontlobby.com. Get over there. This is not about just impacting the tenant's credit or growing their credit. It's about informing your other landlords in the community. So you can get on to frontlobby.com. I'm the ambassador for that as well. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook account, page, TikTok, LinkedIn, anywhere I need to be to make sure that I'm bringing awareness to different tools and different strategies, but most importantly, encouraging you to join this advocacy train and making sure that we have our voices heard. And I'm telling you right now, I'm starting to pinch them a little bit. We're starting to do advocacy at a different level, not so much of like, this is what the landlords are dealing with, but we want to show how bad their housing industry has impacted their mismanagement right down to where they're spending their money.
Yeah, thanks for having us on as always. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are big ones at Stonegate Legal Services. We advocate mainly for the landlords because we are landlords. And it's people like you guys, which is Kayla and Kevin, that are in the forefront. So Kayla with Front Lobby and Kevin with the property management. I've passed many, many, many people to Front Lobby and to Kevin. So keep up the great work and thanks for doing this.
That's you, Rob. Like, come on, look at you. Like, we got to get like a training course just happening for our landlords and get them over to you in beta. And I think we got to do that next.
So, on what Kayla just said, on October 15th is going to be the second investor summit. This one's located out in North Toronto, pretty much Markham. The three of us are going to be there on October 15th. We welcome you to come. You can comment on this video, and I'll send you a link so you can get a buy one, get one ticket, and you can join us on October 15th out in Markham.
Is there food? Is
Hope
there
to see you
food
there
for this?
Oh, you know what? There's always a dinner, and that's included in your ticket price.
I want food. I gotta go.
Oh, food's delicious, and we're going to take care. We're going to educate and inform the landlords on a few different topics, having some great speakers that day as well. Again, to always make sure that people are in the know. That's the idea here with what we're doing. That's the idea of this podcast. So I hope everybody got something today, because as we say, you don't know what you know, and everything the three of us say, you got to know. Anyways, thanks for listening and watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Please remember, while we are professionals, this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The advice shared may not apply to your unique situation. Always seek personalized advice from a qualified professional before making any investment decisions.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us this week. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're finding it informative and useful, make sure to like, subscribe, share with a friend so that we can keep getting the information out there to Ontario landlords. And keep on joining us. We'll see you next time.